You may have tried Korean, Japanese, or European sunscreens, but did you know that India makes some pretty decent sunscreens too? So, I tried five most popular Indian sunscreens for you. Some of them surprised me in a way I really didn't expect, while some of them made the list of the worst sunscreens I ever tried in my life. Wanna know more about them? Keep on watching. Hello, this is Sarah Diba. I love science, skincare and science of skincare, and today I'll be talking about the best and worst Indian sunscreens. The first Indian sunscreen I'm going to talk about today is the Derma Hyaluronic Invisible Sunscreen Gel with Hyaluronic Acid and Vitamin E. This is the first Indian sunscreen I put into my cart because of the word invisible on it. It's a very attractive word for brown skin people like me who are afraid of wet casts from sunscreens. On top of that, it contains hyaluronic acid and vitamin E. So, sounded like a good deal. This sunscreen has octinoxate, octocrylene, and octyl salicylate as UV filters and provides SPF 50 PA+++ protection, meaning it protects both from UVA and UVB rays of the sun. This sunscreen is the first silicone-based sunscreen I ever tried. At first, the texture seemed very cool. It felt exactly like a silicone-based primer. I was really intrigued to try this sunscreen out because of its interesting texture. At first, the texture felt beautiful. It was smooth like a butter, glided on the skin beautifully. However, just a few seconds later, when I tried to blend out the sunscreen, something went wrong. It felt too silicone-y. I'm not sure if that's even a word, but this is exactly how it felt. It seemed to be sitting on top of my skin and was not absorbing or melting into the skin at all. And unlike silicone-based primers, it was oilier. I thought it would get absorbed if I gave it some time, so I waited for a good 15 minutes. However, I noticed no change. Now, some of you might be thinking that what if it doesn't get absorbed or sits on top of the skin? It's a sunscreen, it doesn't need to get absorbed to work. No, this sunscreen is different. It had no grip on my skin. I felt even if I just put a finger on my skin, the whole sunscreen will get rubbed into my hands and I would need to reapply right away. I can't imagine how my face would sweat if I wear this sunscreen in summer. I would need to reapply in 5 minutes. It was a total turn off. Now the problem I face is that my foundation started peeling a lot after layering with this sunscreen. Never gonna buy it again. My rating? 3 out of 10. Next, Qurez Mattifying Tinted Sunscreen SPF 50 PA++++. This is one of the most popular Indian sunscreens that I've heard a lot about. An interesting claim of this sunscreen is to be blue light protection and free of oxybenzone OMC. Interesting because not all tinted sunscreens claim to give blue light protection. Blue light is the visible light from the sun that plays a role in premature aging and melasma. So it's a nice bonus. And as for oxybenzone, it's a perfectly safe ingredient. And unless you are pregnant, I don't really see a reason for specifically searching out for oxybenzone-free sunscreen. Well, I guess it's nice to have options. This sunscreen contains Dinosaur M, zinc oxide, titanium dioxide, diethylhexyl butamate triazine, Evenol A+. It's a tinted sunscreen with a creamy texture. I started applying it as I use sunscreens usually. I took 2-finger amount, put it on both sides of my face, then blended out at one side first. It took some effort. Then I tried to massage on the other side of my face. But I couldn't. By the time I sprayed out the sunscreen on one side of my face, the other side has become dry. Too dry to blend it out. It took me a lot of rubbing and massaging, but it didn't spread evenly. And as it is a tinted sunscreen, it became patchy. I was really disappointed. And it's just not about the texture. For a sunscreen to give the proper protection, it must have the ability to spread easily and create an even film on top of the skin. And I'm really not sure if this sunscreen can do that. People with oily skin might face less issue, but definitely not for dry skin. My rating? 4 out of 10. Next on the list is the Derma 1% Hyaluronic Tinted Sunscreen Gel for broad spectrum protection. After getting disappointed by the first tinted one, I had little hope left. But a lot of you suggested me to try this one, so I did. And you know what? I'm glad I did. This sunscreen has SPF 60+, PA++++ with 26% zinc and 10% titanium dioxide. So, This is a mineral sunscreen and it contains very high percentage of mineral UV filters. So I was worried about both the tint and the white cast, but I was utterly surprised. This sunscreen had the most beautiful texture. It glided on like my favorite silicone primer, left no white cast, no oily residue, no stickiness. This is what I've been hoping and looking for. I don't know how they managed to get such a nice finishing with such high mineral UV filters, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It doesn't mention if it's water resistant though, so my rating is 8 out of 10. Next, the Derma Pore Minimizing Priming Sunscreen with SPF 50 and PA+++ for open pores and UVA UVB protection. This is a very popular sunscreen too. The pore minimizing claim did raise my eyebrows though, because you can't minimize your pores. This is an SPF 50 plus sunscreen with these UV filters: octinoxide, avobenzene, oxybenzene, titanium dioxide. It has a lightweight creamy texture, glides easily, and is very easy to spread out. After researching a bit, I found that this sunscreen contains 2 active ingredients: vinyl and Seboclair MP. And this is where the pore minimizing and oil controlling claims come from. I'd still say to keep your expectation realistic because researches on these ingredients are still pretty limited. So my rating is an 8 out of 10. Next on the list is Dot & Key Vitamin C plus E Super Bright Sunscreen. It's interesting to have antioxidants in sunscreens because who doesn't love these combinations? It's a SPF 50 sunscreen that contains octinoxide, avobenzene, oxybenzene, titanium dioxide as UV filters. This has the lightest texture among these all, almost like a water-like consistency. Reminded me of Skin Aqua sunscreen. Antioxidants like vitamin C and E really work well with sunscreens as they reduce oxidative stress. Loved the finishing. Not oily or greasy, still moisturizing. My rating 7 out of 10. Some people from my audience might have doubts about the protection of these sunscreens. How do we know if these sunscreens are giving us the protection advertised in the labels? Answer is we don't. There is no way to judge the protection of a sunscreen simply by analyzing its ingredient list, unless the ingredient list doesn't contain any UV filter at all. That being said, all the sunscreens I reviewed today published their SPF test results in their official websites, which I think surely earned some confidence in their respective protection rating. So these were my review on top 5 Indian sunscreens. I hope this video gave you a good idea of what to expect from these sunscreens. Let me know in the comment section below which Indian sunscreen you want me to try next. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe and leave a comment below as it would really support my channel. See you next time. Till then, take care of yourself and remember to love the skin you're in. This is Diba signing off today from Diba's Quest.